Hey everybody, welcome to another teaching edition of Real Brave Live. I am joined here with a Real Brave instructor. That's not him, that's me. Nirvana. I'm gonna get. I'm gonna do this right. I'm gonna do this live. We're gonna edit this live to make sure we get this right.
Cool.
Yeah, there it is. Real Brave and piano instructor Nirvana, and welcome to the program today. It's great to have you.
It's super nice to be here, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. So we discussed a really important thing for you and I, how to become a paid musician. What we discussed as far as the subject today is really, people have tried to become professional musicians in the past, and maybe they haven't succeeded. In there is this the notion that if you're a professional musician, you're going to get paid at some point. You and I have had the benefit and the pleasure and the privilege to be paid musicians who happen to be professional too as well. Or maybe we're professional who happen to be paid. Sometimes, be going to school, getting your degree does not guarantee that you're going to get to the promised land of doing this for a living. It's an honor for me to be able to say that I play music every day. So, and be able to make a living. So where do you want to go with this today? Like, tell me, I guess, your story and how your journey to get to this point, and how did you get to the point where you can, in fact, make some money as a professional musician?
That's a great question, Daniel. I mean, honestly, simple answer. I would say perseverance and a whole bunch of trial and error. Like that's honestly how I feel like. I mean, at least my method of going about it is to try to use all my knowledge and all my interests in music and see which areas I can expand into, where people want to collaborate with me, in which areas I can possibly even get paid for the kind of services that I do provide, whether it's collaborations or working as just a pianist or even being a music instructor for that matter. And I don't know. How do I go about this? Like, should I just go back to like my first job? Or?
Well, I mean, yeah. When you first started the piano, I mean, you didn't really have the intention of becoming a professional pianist. I mean, didn't you want to be like a paleontologist or something like that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So you went from paleontologist to rockentologist. No, I don't know. I actually don't. What kind of music do you play?
I mean, yeah, definitely rock. I feel like as a pianist, it's been a little more difficult for me to figure out the kind of music I play. If I was a guitarist, I don't know, like maybe you could tell me a bit about this, but because I don't consider myself a professional guitarist per se, even though I do know how to dabble around with it. But I feel like pianists always have a tougher time trying to explain what genre of music they play, because it's always like, oh yeah, I'm a classical pianist or I'm a jazz pianist. But like, when you say a rock musician, you generally picture someone with a 6-string guitar, right? So I mean, yeah. So, but I have listened to a lot of rock, and I do play, I did pick up like a lot of stuff along the way. I used to love AC/DC, even though they don't have a pianist. I used to like jam along with the keyboard and the organ and stuff. Which else? I mean, Pink Floyd, all the classics, Led Zeppelin. I don't know. Yeah, I would definitely say Rockology. What is it? Being a rockologist is definitely
rockologist.
Yeah. But yeah, I started off as just someone who dabbles around with a Casio, like a Casio-keyboard at home. I didn't have any heading or direction. I didn't even know that being a musician was a viable career. I mean, I just thought of my favorite musicians as like, okay, these idols that exist, and they just came into existence one day as those huge, mythological figures that they are. I didn't think that it would be a process in reaching, onto that pedestal.
Yeah, I mean, well, nobody would ever have thought, or thinks that they're going to be. You believe it, right? To get to the level of like a Jack White or Ozzy Osbourne or Kurt Cobain or any of these mythological figures that you're talking about, which is quite. I think it is a correct term. They're the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, like it is irrational to think that, hey, I'm going to be a professional musician and make millions of dollars. Now, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. It was definitely a little bit more possible because there was a different process. These days, with the TikToks and with the American Idols and with all of the YouTubery and the Instagrammery, it's a different world. So it's a different way to make money. It's a different way to earn a living. It's a different way to just like bide your time, right? So
yeah, for sure.
We grew up in a different time, but there's still a way for people to become professional first. I think that's the title of this is more eye-catching than, it's like, how do I become a professional musician? How do you become paid? Well, first you got to do is become a professional.
I mean, yeah, there's no life hack to this. You just have to work at what you do and be professional.
And even like from one of I was showing my kids who are young, 9, 12, and 15. The Ramones, right? My daughter had a Ramones t-shirt on, and I was like, "Do you know who the Ramones are?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Come with me." So we pulled out a vinyl record and we started playing it. And obviously, it was she was taken back because she wasn't expecting it. It's a very specific thing, but they were very basic rock musicians. Like their stuff was amazing. But was it technically proficient? Was it at the level of like a classically trained pianist that can play, ridiculously? No, it's to their level, but they are professional. They do have a sound. They do have a way to play stuff. So, talk to me more about like talk to me about like your foray in becoming, a musician, right? And you're dabbling in a couple different things, right? Because you said, yes, you're working with Real Brave, but you're a producer. You're doing a couple other things. So tell me what you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm primarily a piano player, but I also love to compose. I consider myself a composer and a music producer who dabbles around with electronic music, film scores, honestly, anything that I can lend my creative skills to. So for example, right now, I just got off of a project in which I mixed and mastered Friends EP. Well, I mixed 2 tracks in it and I basically mastered like the rest of the six songs. And that EP dropped like, a month ago. And that was a great experience for me because I was working with borderline indie pop music with a lot of electronic stuff, put into it. And that's stuff that I didn't really have too much experience going into, honestly. And I didn't listen to half the bands that the artist was, listening to at that point. But it really helped me. It really helped me kind of like explore an entirely new area and develop my skills in, making beats and figuring out, harmonic instruments that go well, that fit the vibe. So that was a great project that I worked with. So it's right. I mean, I do work a lot of individual, like, I do work on a project-to-project basis right now, but I don't think that's how I always envisioned my music career to sort of like pan out. Because when I started off about 8 years ago in music, I actually had the whole, I was chasing the band dream. Like I had a band of like 6 musicians, and I really wanted that band to make it. Like I wanted us to be able to be self-sustainable musicians whose lifetime commitment was this band. And because, we were like living the life back then. I mean, we were like, we kind of were sharing a house effectively. We were working on music 24/7, and we were just going around, competing with different bands and like local competitions, trying to like tour the country. And I'm talking about like back in India before I came to the United States.
Love it.
And it was honestly, I feel like it's still one of the most exciting, like adrenaline pumping experiences that I've had up till date. I mean, of course, I really enjoy the stuff that I'm doing right now, but I feel like this is like way more, calm and sober and kind of like accepting life in its reality sense. But yeah, that was a great experience though. I mean, I think that, you mentioned the Ramones and other bands like that. And even though they might not have been technically the most proficient musicians out there, like, I don't know, classical musicians or jazz cats or whatever, but I feel like they were committed enough to the idea of having an entity that they wanted to see through. And if that was their sound, they had 4 or 5 members that came in and wanted to see that sound through, come up with albums, make sure that they were able to tour, merchandise ideas, business plans, etc., engaging with their fans. And I feel like in a weird way, a lot of us right now are also even though we're dabbling with a lot of other like a diverse sort of like range of things, that like a diverse range of skill sets. In a weird way, I don't really see. I feel like a lot of like that whole idea of the band. I mean, I don't know too many artists that actually work with bands anymore right now. Like
I
it's
mean,
all individualized and fragmented into like, this is my skill set, that's your skill set. So I don't know. It's a strange time, definitely.
well, do you think that with the technology that we have today, I mean, even, for us on our side, we have something called Practice Pad. And this is technology that we're using to literally change how people are taught. If you guys are interested in this, you need to reach out to us about it. It is a wonderful interface to have one-on-one lessons. But technology in general is pushing music to a different place, right? I can log into my iPad and just throw down, I can like strum a G chord on it, right? Record a drum beat, play a G on it, and I have, what I might think to be a song, right? Like if I don't really have maybe the necessary knowledge. But I don't think you can change the fact that instruction, like, what we do in like Practice Pad, getting lessons from someone like a mentor, like someone like yourself, where someone comes to you and is like, I want to learn how to become a musician. And you say to them, well, okay, well, what instrument do you want to play? And they say piano. And then you bring them down that road. In order to become a paid musician, you still should learn the basics. We're not talking about like crazy theory that you and I know. We're not talking about insanity. We're talking about the basics. Understand, listen to songs. What songs do you want? Talk to me about like, with production wise, like what are you seeing with artists coming into your studio?
Well, I mean, I feel like I've come across distinctly maybe like two different kinds of artists. There's like one set of artists that are captivated by the idea that, okay, there's a trend happening in the music industry right now, which is, okay, we're moving towards like beat making and R&B and hip hop, which is and pop music that's basically like hitting like top of the charts, and these set of artists want to go for that sound. And the other set of artists are like, okay, you know what? Being famous and making money isn't the end goal. Like, we were talking about the 1% of the 1% the other day. I mean, I feel like at some point, this is like an unrealistic dream in which like you want to break out to the top of the charts. And then, first of all, is that going to happen? And even if that does happen, then what exactly? Because you could be possibly working like the other side of the indie artists who are like, okay, you know what? We do have a sound. And we could possibly using the technology, using the resources that we have right now, we could also make a sustainable living in which we're reaching out to maybe not a huge fan base, but a moderately big fan base, putting our music out there. And I feel like I tend to work more with artists who have like that slightly more unique approach to wanting to see their music through. But one thing that's common with both these people is that everyone's using the technology these days. Like, I mean, everyone has access to like their own workstations, DAWs. I mean, everyone's making their own beats, and people are like, how can I say it? And plus, everyone really wants work to be done in quick time. I mean, they want like songs written and produced in like maybe a day or two. So it's definitely like come across like very different types of artists in my experience.
So a lot of the questions that I get, and I'm just going to put myself on the screen here really quick. A lot of the questions that I get via text messenger on Facebook or on Instagram are people ask me, well, how do I become a musician? Mm-hmm. That's one. And I'm getting these, from a variety of countries. It's really cool. Like it's kind of, and then to answer those questions to them and really push them to something like, again, I'm going to put this on the screen, your Practice Pad and how that works. But I'm speaking directly to the people that are looking to become a musician or people that want to, create beats. All you need to starting is the key. Just start, but get lessons first. That's the thing. I think that videos are wonderful on YouTube if you can learn like that. But would you agree that there's not enough feedback on those videos to make them 100% effective? Like I can tell these people that want to learn, that's a place to go. I can also tell them like, look, take lessons. They might not have enough money, but to start this process down the road, and it's a mountain, to climb at first. You and I understand it, how to navigate it, but like where besides something like Practice Pad, I'm not going to make this like a Practice Pad commercial, but where else can they start to become a professional musician? How else can they get started?
Well, I mean, Daniel, you said it before when you said, okay, there's all this information available on YouTube and all over the website. I mean, people are putting up like, their own free content or like workshops and whatever. But I think that, I mean, and I myself have looked at a lot of these and they have been helpful. Like, don't get me wrong, like, learning production techniques or like simple tricks on the piano, like composition techniques, sight reading, etc., ear training. I mean, you can find it all online. But I feel like the biggest drawback to all of that is that you don't have the ability to get your questions answered by someone who's looking out there. I mean, who's looking out for your best interests. Yeah. So if you have a specific question about making a beat or about learning how to, let's say, learning a strumming pattern on the guitar, like a YouTube video will get you slightly far, but it's not going to work on your unique questions. And that's going to stop you from becoming the unique musician that you could have become. And I feel like that's something that nothing but a teacher can give you.
Right.
Or at least some sort of an engaging community,
Yeah, there's community in lessons, even between two people. Like you and I having this conversation, we have a basis of understanding of music. It's an unspoken language, and then we because like we both understand it. Like we're speaking English, but we understand the language of music, and I understand exactly what you're talking about. Like it's a community, it's a mentorship, it's a place where getting lessons at least start you down that path. And then there's a variety of other things that you can do. You can listen to your favorite songs. You can, study theory to figure out like why stuff sounds like the way it does. I think some of my least favorite methods in which people tried to become a professional musician were probably like just trying to do it without having the background. You probably don't know this, but Real Brave started as a recording studio, and I recorded hundreds of thousands of hours of bands, hip hop artists, dance artists, my own music, my own bands, metal bands, like just whatever. I think my least favorite. It's crazy. Like I had to stop doing it because I was starting to lose my mind, but. My least favorite out of all of that, let me preface this with my favorite stuff was hearing like a hip hop artist come in and they were so talented, right? And like the rhythm they were using, their voice and the groove, and then they bring in a beat that they didn't make. Like I'm like, oh guys, come on. Or and it was like, and you can tell like they just ripped it. Like, back then they were ripping it. So like, but now you can just download stuff. Yeah. My other least favorite thing was that they were trying to create it on their own, but they didn't understand how a beat comes together. So it was very disjointed. Have you ever seen that when you ever recorded somebody?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I feel that at the end of the day, like, why would you as an artist or as a rapper or a singer want to be kind of confined into this beat that you didn't even make, which doesn't actually support your voice? So instead of actually being able to be free with your flow and your lyrics and your phrasing and whatever, you're kind of restricting yourself to this given condition that this is the beat, this is the length, this is how it's got to be. I mean, I feel like I would say that you're much better off maybe, I don't know, getting a producer to make a beat for you. I mean, I get why they're doing it, because obviously maybe just ripping a beat off or buying a beat is like way cheaper because people are selling those in bulk. But I mean, does it really satisfy your artistic needs at that point? I mean, when you have a producer who could make that beat, or when you yourself could learn how to make a beat, you could really help express yourself and express what your lyrics are trying to say, I feel like, in a much more musical and effective way. So yeah.
There's a college not too far away from this studio. It's William Patterson's. They have a wonderful program. It does teach people how to become successful in the music industry, specifically on the business side. So there's not only becoming a professional musician. There's what else can you do to be a professional musician? And there's becoming an agent. There's go into licensing, which is being able to take somebody's music and apply it to TV and film. Go into a school like William Patterson, which is had one of the better programs in the country, is another option. Do you have any? What kind of? I love the fact that you're from India. So, where exactly did you go to school for this? And did you go to school specifically for music, or did you go for paleontology?
No, I really wish I knew about a school of paleontology back at home. I mean, I would have. I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now because our career paths may not have collided necessarily. But no, I didn't go to I didn't go to a school that was primarily like a music school curriculum wise. I went to just a regular school that had music classes, but not piano classes. So I had to take piano lessons outside school. And my real music education, as far as like becoming serious about it and becoming serious about higher education, and that's the process that led me to apply for Berkeley, is when I joined a music school in New Delhi, which is the capital of India. And it's like a Berkeley bin school. So basically you can go there, study, and then get credits transferred at a much cheaper rate. And that's what I did. And I feel like that experience really helped open up my understanding of how, not just my own, to understand how the world works, basically, like the world of musicians, the music industry, the kind of quality that's honestly present on the global level. And in a way that was humbling, because then I realized I don't have to strive to be the best of the best. Like that top 1% dream doesn't have to be true. I mean, I can find my own little niche in which I can figure out, like you said, I mean, you can get into very different jobs. You don't just have to be a professional pianist. You can get into mixing, into producing, into licensing, into music business, into teaching. I mean, yeah, I feel like that was definitely where my eyes got opened up slightly.
Are there specific programs in India? Is the music industry in India? There's so many people in the country. I mean, there's so it's way different than America.
Yeah, there's people falling off the cliffs of the border.
I know, and goodness, if there's a way in the future that I could ever get there to witness it, 'cause I would love to understand. I love understanding cultures now. Like I'm starting to get into I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but there's so many people there. Is that why you came to America? Because there's just too much competition?
Well, honestly, no. I think there is a lot of competition, but there's not too much. I came here because I feel that the music scene as it existed back at home was limiting for me. I mean, I feel like I worked inside it for about like a good 4 to 5 years. And after a point, I felt that I wasn't growing anymore. And I felt that I wasn't learning. My experiences were running out. My band had just broken up, the one that I was talking about before, because everyone is kind of going their own way. I mean, some into music, some into like business and management and stuff. And I wanted to go to a music school to engage with people who were more experienced than I was, and who were also like doing things that I had never seen before. And I wanted to be inspired. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to go back to India at some point, and I definitely do have plans of doing that at some point. But yeah, I feel that I wanted to get new experiences. And India, but I feel like at the same time, India is a place where people are like me. I mean, I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to come here to study, to meet people, to work with you guys. But not everyone has that opportunity, and people are looking to be educated and learn more, because there's no dearth of interest in music. I mean, people are passionate out there. So
yeah. Well, it's a country rich with history in music. I mean, it is a rich, long history that I do not know well enough to speak about, but I do recognize it. And someday I would love to somehow get over there, or maybe with Practice Pad. Ideally, we'd be teaching there somehow, some way.
I think people would love the idea of having like a community like this to be able to just engage with. I did see a whole bunch of Indians up in Practice Pad, like a few, like the last time I was there. I mean, it seems like the word is spreading.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in the beginnings of this with the subscriptions that you can buy. It's like anything; it starts slow, but with the amount of people in the world that need access to something like this, which is just like this, it's people It's an instructor helping another person learn how to play music, and it's the beginnings of becoming a professional musician, because that's how I started. That's how you started.
Yeah.
Getting paid is the bonus. When you get the opportunity to have a ton of fun every day doing something you love and getting paid for it, it is, I'm sure you can agree, a blessing, right?
Definitely. Oh yeah, that's the dream, I think.
I couldn't agree more. So, all right, we'll cap this here. I know it's a general discussion. I think that the answer is you do have to start to get lessons first and do it the right way. I know beat making and all that stuff should start with at least some sort of background in music, because then it's more musical. I don't know how else to describe that.
Yeah, for sure.
Although I did see who is the artist I saw? I don't know who it was. It was somebody really famous, and it was more focused on the vocalist, and there was very minimal. It was kind of like a drone in the background and a beat. So it was Nicki Minaj. That's who it was.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it's really not about the music, right? It's just more about the voice and the style, because she's naked, and that's her appeal.
Oh yeah. Yep.
She's completely naked. Okay, we'll end it on that.
That's a nice one.
You want to become a professional musician, get naked. All right, we'll end it there, and hang on right there. I'm going to stop this broadcast. Folks, this has been a Real Brave Instruction episode. Thanks for watching. This is the Practice Portal. This is where it's starting. If you're not a part of the Practice Portal, go to groups, search Practice Portal, and you'll find this young man here, and he's going to help in 2021 be teaching in there more, because we only just started about a month ago. He's very talented, and thank you for hanging out with me for a little bit.
Thank you.
All right, that broke up a bit, but I did hear you. All right, man, thanks.